Hi, I'm Marc, and on this channel I talk about Brexit and UK politics. One topic on GB News was British immigrants locked out of pensions by Brexit rules. So let's see what is the reality about that. But first of all, what they and some newspapers said. British immigrants are at risk of being locked out of their pensions due to UK bank account closures linked to Brexit. That's what financial experts have warned. Most pension providers can only pay into a UK bank account. However, some lenders have stopped serving many overseas customers. UK retirees living overseas are also struggling to move pensions into drawdown by annuities and make changes to their contributions, as the Telegraph reports, due to post-Brexit rules, meaning pensions providers are less likely to offer cross-border services. HM Revenue and Customs, the HMRC, rules say customers must be resident in the UK in order to transfer to a pension to a new British provider. This means immigrants cannot move their pensions to a new company and may face expensive and complicated overseas pension transfers. Furthermore, to access the money, they could lose up to 25% of their pot to tax. Paul Beard, founder and chief executive of Alexander Beard Group, told the Telegraph that dozens of retirees have contacted him about pension providers who refuse to pay out. A Royal London spokesman said very few providers are able to offer cross-border pensions business due to the risky and complexity involved for customers in doing so. Sources at pension funds told the publication that the problem primarily stems from bank account changes. A number of banks have reviewed which accounts non-UK residents can open and retain since the UK left the European Union. A spokesman for the pensions regulator directed concerned customers should follow complaint procedures. So that was it. On my research, I found that you have to very carefully look at the wording of the news I mentioned before. Because, as I found it, is as follows. British pensioners can get their pension paid into an overseas bank account in 2023. First of all, we have state pension. The state pension can be paid into any bank account in any country in the world. And I hope so. I worked there for some years. You will need to provide the Department for Work and Pensions, the DWP, with the International Bank Account Number, the IBAN, and the Bank Identification Code, the BIC, of your overseas account. And then we have the private pension, and then that's where problems begin. Whether or not your private pension can be paid into an overseas bank account will depend on the terms of your pension scheme. And everyone concerned here should contact their pension provider to find out if this is an option for them. If you are moving abroad permanently, you should tell the DWP and your pension provider as soon as possible. You may need to provide proof of your residency in your new country, and indeed you may be charged a fee for having your pension paid into an overseas bank account. And you may be liable for tax on your pension in your new country of residence. That is something that's new. How to arrange for your pensions to be paid into a bank account overseas is quite a topic. To arrange for your state pension to be paid there, you can contact the DWP by phone or online. So they have two ways. And to arrange for your private pension to be paid into an overseas bank account, you should contact your pension provider directly. And if people are still thinking to move abroad, which is harder now, they should do some research and understand especially the tax implications of receiving their pensions overseas. And they also might consider getting financial advice from a qualified professional, because there are a lot of hurdles now, but there's a lot still possible. But for everyone, it's important to keep their contact information up to date with the DWP and your pension provider so that they can reach you if they need to. And as I learned, it is not true that HMRC rules say customers must be resident in the UK in order to transfer a pension to a new British provider. HMRC rules allow customers to transfer their pension to a new British provider regardless of where they are resident. However, the new British provider may have its own rules about accepting transfers from overseas residents. For example, the new provider may require customers to meet certain criteria, such as having a UK bank account or being able to provide evidence of their UK residency as well. Customers should always check with the new provider before making a transfer to make sure that they meet all of the eligibility requirements. And of course, there are some additional things to keep in mind when transferring a pension to a new British provider from overseas, because people may need to pay a transfer fee and people may lose some of the benefits of their existing pension scheme, such as guaranteed annuity rates or guaranteed income drawdown. And they may need to provide proof of their identity and residency. And as I mentioned before, but I will say it more often, they need to pay tax maybe on their pension transfer depending on their circumstances. And as I learned that non-UK residents can still open and retain bank accounts in the UK since the UK left the European Union, but they may face some restrictions there. Some banks may be reluctant to open accounts for non-UK residents or retain them, especially if they do not have a UK address as well. However, there are a number of banks that still do offer bank accounts to non-residents. So just have a look at it. I don't want to make some advertisement for certain banks here, but I found a number that still offer this and you wouldn't have a problem. These banks typically offer online and mobile banking services, and they may have certain requirements for non-residents, such as providing proof of identity and residency, but I expect that from every bank anyway. It's important to note that some banks may charge additional fees for non-resident customers, of course. But of course, Brexit had a number of impacts on UK pensioners in the EU, and not only the ones I mentioned already. Brexit has changed a lot of things. We all know this. But changes to healthcare access is one of this, and UK pensioners living in the EU are no longer entitled to automatic free healthcare, and they may need to purchase private health insurance or register for the healthcare system in their country of residence, but it may be different in the 27 member states. And there might be changes to social security benefits. And UK pensioners living in the EU may no longer be entitled to some social security benefits, such as winter fuel payments or free bus passes. And there are, of course, the changes to residency rights. The UK pensioners living in the EU needed to apply for a new residency permit in their country of residence. And this process was quite complex and time-consuming. And it might even change their pensions, because UK pensioners living in the EU may need to pay taxes on their pensions, here we are again, in their country of residence. And they may also face restrictions on how they can transfer their pensions to another country. That's what I talked about in the video in the beginning. So there is a lot of truth about these complications by Brexit, but it is not as bad as they presented it, because if you look at the right point, it will be a fuss again. But Brexit didn't make anyone's life easier, so who would have expected something else? They have to be active on it, but in the end, of course, they can have a UK bank account if they want to, or they can have their pensions transferred to their country of residence. But there is some work involved, and that is true, but it's not as critical as some news outlets have put it again. Nevertheless, if you want to see something else right now, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.